Good morning, everyone. We're here live in the Kroger Community Kitchen Garden at Lewis Ginter Botanical Garden. And here is Laurel Matthew. She is one of our senior horticulturists. And Laurel, it's kind of chilly out here this morning. What's up with the weather?
The weather is it's still spring. We've just been fooled.
Well, I just saw some sleet, I think.
Yes, it did snow on us. But it's the perfect weather to harvest some of our cool weather crops like kale, chard, mustard greens, and lettuce. All
right. Well, those, I was looking at them earlier, and what you have growing here, it looks delicious. I was getting really hungry.
Well, thank you. We keep harvesting and donating. Feed More's mission is more important than ever. There's 193,000 hungry neighbors in Central Virginia that Feed More is dedicated to finding food for. And our little quarter of an acre helps a little bit.
All right, well, I'm going to just pan around if that's okay and show a little bit.
Sure, you'll be able to see that some of our combination planters there, they have very tiny peas that are just coming up. I have started some trap crops of marigold. I can tell you a little bit more about that, but those are attracting and killing plant parasitic nematodes. One of these cultivars I'll show you over here is actually called Golden Guardian and has been proven to be more effective than chemical pesticides as far as killing plant parasitic nematodes. So we're going to try that out again. That's what we'll end up doing down in the ground beds in the next couple of weeks.
Okay, great. So a little bit of companion planting with the marigolds and
very strategic companion planting.
All right. Oh, it just looks great. Yeah, well, tell us a little bit about what you are doing right now.
Sure, I'm taking off the PPE that I'm going to be wearing to harvest for Feed More. We're going to harvest with gloves, a mask, and I actually have that neckerchief over my mask to prolong it, and also I think it's less threatening, but that's just a personal choice to double up. I have here some chard that's ready to be harvested. And we're putting it in these new compostable bags that we secured earlier in the year. This is an exciting new product that we're going to use to try and make sure we literally have as little waste from this garden as possible.
So tell me a little bit about that. So compostable bags.
Right, exactly. So the idea behind these is that they are made from plants. They're certified compostable if your compost pile gets hot enough. So there are some regulations to that. This one is, I think, the 7-gallon t-shirt bag, and that's good for harvesting and delivering smaller amounts of things. For larger amounts, we still need to use larger bags that we can put a whole bed's worth of harvest in at one time.
Yeah, so you're really thinking about the environment and what's best.
We even have clamshells for the cherry tomatoes,
but
they're not ready yet, so you'll have to stay tuned for those.
Great, all right. Well, so you're harvesting this now to go to Feed More. How does that process work?
So the way that process works is we will bag it, weigh it. There is a produce donation form. That form is really great because you can donate live produce or canned goods or non-food items and still retain a copy for your purposes and for Feed More's purposes. So then I will put it in the back of our vehicle and drive it over to the Feed More kitchen in Richmond, Virginia. I just let Chef know, hi Chef, what we have, and he figures out a wonderful way to use it in their Meals on Wheels program.
Great. So when did you plant all of this?
Oh, that's a trick question. I have to put it on a label somewhere. Let's see what this label says. This one I actually planted down in November. I have to put a label in every bed or I will forget. And it's also a good way to keep track of the cultivar, the seed source, when you seeded it, when you potted it up, and when you potted it into the ground. So that you can use that information for planting next year.
Now, is it too late if somebody wants to plant some leafy greens?
That's a great question. And the answer is no, it's not too late. There's a couple ways you can shortcut not having seeds started yet. The first is by going to a trusted farmer's market, produce store, or other garden center and find some seedlings that somebody else has started for you. I actually did that yesterday on some of my herbs just because I have a favorite produce stand and I know they grow great stuff. So if I don't have it yet because of, you know, stressful times and being busy, they've already started it for me. You can pick them up for really, usually pretty inexpensively. And the other way is to select varieties from seed catalogs that show a heat tolerance. So there are some kale, lettuce, chard, other leafy greens that have been bred to be heat tolerant varieties. So I would recommend choosing those if you're starting from seed right now.
And so how long can you grow crops like this before it gets too hot?
That's a great question also, and this is an example of some kale and some Asian greens that have what we call bolted or gone to seed. I'm going to swing around. So when you see your leafy greens shoot up a flower stalk, they tend to get bitter and tougher. And in that case, they are really less edible unless you find some workarounds for that bitter taste. But I do like to leave them this long because bolted leafy greens and cool weather crops are great pollinator plants. So they actually have a second purpose after we eat as much as we want. They will provide nectar for early emerging pollinators.
That's a great point, yeah. So even after we're finished harvesting them, they still have a purpose in the garden.
Exactly, and if you are adventurous and patient, you can let these seeds mature and then harvest them and then start seed saving for next year.
Ah, great idea. Very resourceful too. It's a good time to be resourceful these days.
It is, but seed saving's great. Not all seeds come true. So seed catalogs are still a great resource. They have quality control, they have great directions, there's a lot of varieties to choose from. And so if you're planning a garden for spring and summer, I recommend you get on the computer right now and order a couple of paper catalogs. They're full of information, full of great ideas. I have seen as of yesterday that many of my favorite seed suppliers have a longer processing time to pick and deliver because of COVID, or they also are prioritizing commercial growers over home growers. So just check the availability first, and then, you know, go to your local garden center. Box store has a lot of great seeds if you're having trouble finding some online.
All right, great, thank you. So what else are you doing out here today on this really fine early spring day?
So actually I can walk you over to the picnic table where I have a couple of examples of container plantings that might kind of get your dreaming seed buying mind started.
Right,
so I'll
well,
walk right over here.
I imagine that there are a lot of people out there that are dreaming about vegetable gardening and have some questions. So if they do have questions, I'll invite them to please feed and we will answer those after the broadcast.
And not only questions, I would love. I'm learning every season, and so if someone has grown a favorite type of tomato or maybe even their recommended warm season lettuce, you know, let us know that too because we can all learn. Am I walking slow enough?
No, it looks like our connection is kind of going in and out, but now it's looking better. And I'm going to try to find a good place. Here we go. This is always fun with Facebook Live and doing things live, and we really appreciate people being patient and understanding with us. It's a whole new world out there, and so we're learning.
So you let me know when the connection's good.
I think we're good. I think we're good to go.
So here are some sample bundles of what I'll be harvesting later. I wanted to share with you, I'm not a nutritionist, but I am a food enjoyer by every means. So I had to look up the benefits of what you see here are chard, kale, and mustard greens. And interestingly, you know, they all have very great health benefits. Kale is high in iron, antioxidants, calcium, vitamin A, C, and K, zero fat, high fiber, low calorie. Chard has 15% more iron, and interestingly, greens have more protein and calcium. So kale is the one I cook with primarily, but I'd love to know what the viewers prefer to cook with, and if they have any special recipes or tips to grow with those.
That's great. With kale, I have put it in the baking sheet and put it in the oven.
Yeah, kale chips?
Yeah, put a little salt on it.
So what I find is interesting is if you have little children at home, you probably recognize this, which is a loom band. And children make these for craft projects and bracelets and everything. So I happen to have about 1,000 add them in, and they make great little produce rubber bands too. So you can reuse what you already have. Okay.
Very good.
So here you can find on the table a selection of seedlings. Danger of seeding too early. So this is a tomato. It's one of the determinate varieties that I have started this year. This one is Patio Choice Yellow. I had such great success with this last year. I wanted to do it again. This plant is a little bit more mature than most people would recommend you transplant into the garden. So you're still within the window. Tomatoes, eggplants, and others in their family want to be really warm. And so it's still too cold to really plant this out without a lot of shock. So I'm going to wait until the weather is consistently in the 60s. But I love this. This is an example of a tomato that would be great in containers, on your patio, or if you have a small space, because it's what we call a determinate variety. That means it usually stays shorter. It puts out all its fruit closer together in a compacted harvest period, but you won't have to trellis it or stake it or prune it like you would one of those long producing indeterminate varieties. So this is check on the seed packets, or look up if you're buying one with just a stick in it, a seedling. Just double check to make sure that you are selecting the plant that you can grow with success. And with tomatoes, determinate versus indeterminate is one of the primary factors.
And Laurel, tell us again what that was, because Janet had a question about the best tomatoes to plant in a container.
Okay,
so.
Thank you for asking. These are called Patio Choice. I purchased these seeds from Park Seed, and I checked last night and they were sold out at some quantities. So Patio Choice Red and Yellow I love. From my farmer's market, I found a determinate mid-sized tomato plant. It's called Celebrity, and it wouldn't say it on the tag, but it did say it when I looked it up. I'm pretty sure that one is also determinate, so it's more manageable. Now if you scan down here, you will find two I'm over the moon excited about. These are called micro tomatoes, okay? One is Orange Top Hat, and the other is Micro Tom.
Oh, they're so cute.
Yes, so you can see this one is already producing. These will stay 6 to 8 inches tall. They're perfect for a sunny window, a 6-inch pot, or something really creative if you need to use some of your Legos up in the house. So these are
made out of Legos?
Yes, did you see?
Oh my goodness, Laurel.
It resembled a honeybee, but I took its antennas off for this purpose.
Oh, so. Repurposing.
That's right. That's a way to get your kids involved. You need them to make you some planters.
That's a great idea. And so these will grow tomatoes that you can...
Yeah, they grow teeny tiny little tomatoes. Some people have hydroponics or aeroponics, and a smaller variety of tomato works well for those projects.
So is this right here?
Yes.
That's the little tomato?
That is so cute. I might mention as well that if you are growing indoors or you don't have a lot of pollinator services, you can encourage a fruit set by hand pollinating because tomato flowers will self-pollinate, but they usually only do so if a pollinator comes around and buzzes them, so they get buzz pollinated. You can take a paintbrush and sort of tickle the flowers, or you can walk through your crop and give them a little shake. when the weather's not too humid.
Very good. Very cool.
So when you go back to planning your garden, I do recommend that you practice some impulse control. Do as I say, not as I actually did.
Okay.
But plan and think about what you want to eat, what you want to grow, your available space and resources, your watering ability, so you have good success the first year. So for example, if I love salsa, pasta sauce, tomatoes, and so this is a great little combination that you can plant that sort of feeds my favorite salsa needs. You have one of those cherry tomatoes, you have a little tomatillo, some bunching onions. This is garlic, a clove just thumbed down into a pot. Here a green pepper, some cilantro, and this is leaf lettuce for nibbling. So this is an example of a combination that has kind of a purpose and a plan. So, and also would grow well in a sunny spot in a small space.
So you can grow your own salsa and have it
Yes.
all the time.
Yes, that would be great. So I'm excited about this. If you want to teach some of your learning at home children, you could talk about using a garden to feed some butterflies. So this is a nectar garden. This has a salvia, borage that has an edible flower for humans. This also has 2 types of verbena. And so this would be a great, beautiful way to attract pollinators, butterflies, and hummingbirds to your garden. When you do this, I would be remiss not to remind you that caterpillars need to eat too, and some dill or cilantro or parsley are great host plants for the larva of swallowtail. I planted a dozen snapdragons. Those are the larval host for buckwheat. So that's kind of exciting. So consider a combination planter.
So you can plant for your own enjoyment, but also for wildlife and insects and pollinators.
Yes, we hope everybody is doing that. And then you have to plant for fun, right? These nasturtium have a peppery flavored edible leaf and edible flower. So you might as well throw something new in the salad.
You can eat the flower.
Yes, you can. So those are great, and they are good cool weather companions. They'll peter out in the heat of our summer. This is my treasure for this year. This is called monkey flower. It's a hybrid of monkey flower, Mimulus, which genus Mimulus, which is actually a native. And isn't it fun?
That's a native, or it's
related to natives, yes. And this one we grew from seed, and it's just like so bright and special.
Oh my goodness,
Isn't that cute?
That is beautiful.
The little hummingbirds and pollinators are going to love that.
They like those kind of tubular flowers, right?
Yes.
So what is your garden like at home, Laurel? Do you have a big garden? And
I have a garden that's always in progress. And I think I own that. I apologize to my neighbors, see things, done, but it's something that I'm working on all the time. It's been very therapeutic for me and my family, who all come out there and help. They find insects and wildlife that they want to come share with me. They help me plan and plant. So yesterday we were all on a blanket in the driveway, and we were thinking about what to plant next. And I think that's one of the great parts about gardening at home, especially now. It's something that you can do, you can enjoy, you can take your breaks whenever you want. It doesn't have to be stressful, and hopefully you can learn and grow enough to share.
That's great. Good advice. Good advice. Well, Laurel, is there anything else you'd like to add today to our edition of What's Growing in the Garden Wednesday?
Well, I do want to roll call my volunteers who would normally be here on a Wednesday who aren't here, just to let you know I'm thinking about you. I'm okay, and I hope you are too, and thanks for checking in. Sherry, Mariette, Mike, Dawn, Pat, Orchids, Irina, Nan, and Michael Ann, and Casey, KG, Gary, and Michelle. If you were here, you'd be helping me harvest. So stay well. It's a lot of kale.
Well, we do appreciate our volunteers here at the garden, and we miss them terribly, and we really look forward to the days when they can come back. So thank you for the shout out to them, and thank you to them and all of our volunteers and members and people who are watching. Again, and thank you, Laurel. You've got a lot on your hands these days, a lot to do, so we appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today.
You're welcome. I hope we can do it again soon, and everybody stay safe.
Thank you so much. All right.